And we're finally gonna do it. Today, I'm gonna show you all how I cook a steak.
I think it's really interesting how on his wall he has a horse in like a calendar. I do wonder how he'd feel if that steak were comprised of a body of one of those horses, or maybe
But I do take pictures of every single steak that I cook. I cook the exact same steak every single time.
What?
And I take a picture of it at the end. That way I remember how good it was.
It's really weird how he's just kind of talking about the steak like it's an object.
There's a difference between animal abuse for zero utility and animal abuse for meat production. It's not the same thing.
Today is another one of those videos where I reach out to someone who's heaps and bounds more popular than I am in the hopes that maybe miraculously I might
In hopes to get some sweet, sweet clout.
reach them, or at least some of their audience. And today it's about Asmongold. Asmongold is a popular streamer. He's known for his gaming and his more mature takes on things. And I'm hoping that with his maturity, I could shed light on something that in the future will definitely be seen as more of an atrocity than it is today. There's two videos I saw by Asmongold.
I was gonna say she's been like really charitable to him and acknowledging that a big part of his popularity is that he has pretty level-headed takes when it comes to serious topics.
That kind of raised my eyebrows. One of them was like a stream clip where he was with Maya, who's like a wildlife conservationist who has talked badly of veganism before. I've done a video on her before, and I will link that down below.
Boys, today we have a very, very special part of the show. Today, we are going to be taking a look at some real-life animals. No longer in-game, in real life. We're here with Maya and also her friend, and they're going to be showing us a number of these wild animals. And I am, honestly, guys, I'm really excited for this.
And he is an eastern fox squirrel. Wow.
I can't do this, dude. I guess I'm trying to. I'm like emoting, but look at how good he is at emoting. Look at that zoom in. This is what it takes to become
honestly,
like a top tier
guys,
streamer.
I'm really excited for this.
And he is an eastern fox squirrel.
Look.
Wow.
Exactly 10 YouTube thumbnails per second. He like never stops reacting. Even if you watch him live, he's like constantly making faces and saying like even just saying like acknowledging the video as if he's having a conversation with it. I try to learn from him, unironically.
So want to respect them or care for them, you know, at least understands that they are these individuals and, you know, they're at risk and need to be cared for. Then the other video that drew my attention to the problem was a recent video where he was cooking up a steak.
What's up, boys? So I've wanted to do this for a while. A lot of people have asked for it.
Oh God. Vegans try to understand that people have contradictions and can both care for animals and eat steaks. Challenge level, fucking possible. Fucking possible. It just like the brain melts when it comes to comprehending that human beings are fallible, contradictory creatures. It just ends there.
And we're finally gonna do it. Today, I'm gonna show you all how I cook a steak.
I think it's really interesting how on his wall he has a horse in like a calendar. I do wonder how he'd feel if that steak were comprised of a body of one of those horses, or maybe the
Honestly, knowing Asmongold, I think he would be pretty fucking stoked. Fuck, man. If you're gonna eat meat, you're gonna accept all the meat. Okay? I would eat the shit out of that horse. Or I would go vegan. There's no in between. Either you can eat all animals or you can eat no animals. There's no moral system that that's consistent anywhere in the middle. I refuse to acknowledge that.
that picture, would it maybe make him feel some different type of way? Or better yet, maybe if that were the corpse of a Rottweiler or some dog, or if it were comprised of the bodies of some of the animals he had a chance to interact with, would he feel somewhat differently? I understand that this is something that we see as very normal, very necessary, something that's just kind of part of life, but if we genuinely take the time to think about it, there is no relevant moral difference between these animals and the animals who you would value. That would mean some of them you can just kind of slit their...
Exactly, that's my point. There is no moral difference between the animals you have an emotional connection to and the animals at the farm. When I say emotional connection, I mean to the species. There is a moral difference between a pet that you have a personal individual connection to and an animal grown for meat. There actually is a moral difference there.
Throats, you can bolt gun them in the head, you can kind of do what you want to them in order to make a steak out of them.
But I do take pictures of every single steak that I cook. I cook the exact same steak every single time.
What?
And I take a picture of it at the end. That way I remember how good it was.
It's really weird how he's just kind of talking about the steak like it's an object and not a body part. If he were taking a body part out of a fridge, but it weren't from a cow and it were from like a dog or a cat, then suddenly we'd view this very differently and the public response would be incredibly different. Hello, this...
It would, but it would be fucking stupid, okay? Bodies are objects. Literally just objectified everyone in the world.
is a more recent version of vegan gaze. Reporting in because I found a video by Asmongold talking on an instance where a streamer got a cat, threw them over their chair.
Milo!
And fed them vodka. The kind of claim that I made about Asmongold caring about animals, I don't know with this clip. I feel like maybe other people should watch it in its full context. He didn't actually watch the video, but he seemed more interested in the fact that people were probably mad about it because of who was doing it and not so much the thing being done itself. And though that is kind of true in a sense, people we dislike a lot more, we're more motivated to call them out when they do something we don't like. I found it a bit weird. He was quite nonchalant about the concept of an animal being harmed. And another thing that was kind of bizarre was that he pointed out that for him, the worst part is a double standard. That's the bit that gets to him most.
If you threw a cat on stream and fed it vodka, I would want you banned. Yeah, I'm sure, but like, I don't know. I guess to me, this is like a weird thing. People are gonna get mad about it. I don't care about this issue. I really don't. So, I mean, you can be mad about that or whatever, but I don't care about the issue. I think people only really, like, the only thing I would be worried about is like a double standard.
He even then points out that some people, people love animals and then they'll eat some, but he's one of those people.
If you want to say that, right, I think that people should at least be consistent and say that, okay, well, I don't like any animal abuse. But I don't know, to me, as I said, it just seems like people only care about animal abuse whenever it's an animal that they think is cute.
Actually fucking based, yeah. This is a rough thing, but genuinely, there's a difference between animal abuse for zero utility and animal abuse for meat production. It's not the same thing. And you can go into very good arguments for why you don't need meat production. There are good arguments for that. I acknowledge that. But there's still a world of difference between wanton cruelty and exploitation that has utility. It's just not at all the same thing. And once again, vegans understanding that, challenge level impossible. It looks like exactly like how I imagine a vegan should look like. True, but Asmongold also looks like what a vegan would look like. True.
And obviously, like, the thing is that I don't really think that I'm probably the best person to base your morality off of. But I think people just care about the double standard more than anything.
So he's engaging in a double standard. Yeah, that seems to be the thing he's more focused on when someone does something to an animal.
I don't know. I don't give a fuck, to be honest. That's why I said before. You overestimate the amount of animal abuse going on? No, I don't think that I do at all. I think that all kinds of people do stupid shit like that to their animals.
He says, oh yeah, loads of people do stupid stuff to animals. Well, yeah.
That's actually true. There's a lot of animal abuse that happens that is actually just invisible. It can be as simple as someone adopting a bird, and the bird will have food, the bird will have water, the bird will have some sort of cage with some amount of space, but are they actually going to spend the time necessary to give companionship to the bird? Are they going to actually give it enough space and take the time to let it fly around the house, to bird-proof a room so it can like chill and fly around in there, etc., etc., etc.? They probably aren't. And that's also a form of abuse. You don't need to like give an animal fucking vodka to abuse it. And I think Asmongold is talking about that. He's talking about the reality that a lot of people are negligent, and there is such a thing as abuse by negligence.
Yeah, maybe loads of people do bad things to animals. It doesn't make it okay just because loads of people do it. I found
that's true
watching
as well.
this quite uncomfortable.
Just because loads of people do it does not make it okay as well.
And I'm not really prepared to just say that he flat out doesn't really care about animals, on this clip alone. But it did make me feel a certain type of way about his concerns.
I don't really care, personally. It's not a big deal to me. It doesn't affect me.
She's also been like not wanting to care about a specific piece of drama, I think doesn't necessarily reflect on you. So this would be as if, look, if someone was like in chat was pressuring me to cover, say I hadn't covered the Amaranth abusive relationship drama, and someone was like pressuring me about it, and I went on a rant where I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like I don't want to get into it. Yeah, it's bad shit. And then I just like gloss over it. It's not a very tactful way of saying it, but I can get that. I can get you being like, well, no, this isn't what I want to talk about right now. I'm gonna like say my piece for 2 minutes and then like never talk about it again because I don't want to. I don't care, or however you want to put it. It's not very tactful. But there's something honest about it, and that isn't really evil or anything.
It has nothing to do with me, and that's basically all there is to it. Maybe I'm like a weirdo for this, but I really just don't give a fuck.
And I will say, yes, the double standard is frustrating. It is something.
Say that you're Maya Higa. No, you are Maya Higa.
To be focused on, and it's something that you're also engaging in. So if you do have a problem with it, then why are you eating a steak. Maybe he's taking the feigned Destiny position where he's acting like he just doesn't care about animals at all, therefore it's fine to exploit and kill them. But if he would go down that route, would it be fine to exploit and kill humans if you didn't personally care about them? I'm assuming you think that humans should be treated a certain way. Does that align with other animals? And if not, what is the relevant moral difference that makes that distinction justified?
And the thing is, I have a similar grounding for a lot of my morality. It's just utilitarianism, and I'm not 100% utilitarian. There are situations where it fails. I don't remember the exact thought experiments, but there are places where I'm not happy following utilitarianism, and I think it does require nuances, especially when you start applying it to the real world, because then otherwise it just becomes like a wacky the end justifies the means for whatever the fuck you want to believe, and like that's not what a moral system should be. But anyways, tangent aside, when you're like socially utilitarian, then yeah, you value human beings more than animals. That's just how it is. I'm okay with it. I will defend it. I value human beings more than animals. If I were to go vegan, and I think those are good reasons to go vegan, it would be for like ecological concerns and somewhere further down on the priority list, like basic compassion and care for other living beings. But that is far beneath in the priority list to the well-being of the society I live in. That's my framework, at least.
And what's important is the life of that individual themselves. Like, why is it so awful, to kill a dog, for example? An animal we don't really have to get defensive over because we don't include them in our meals. That would be terrible, to see cruel things happening to them, like their life being taken from them, or them being, confined and harmed in some sort of way. Why? Well, because they have their own lives, and those lives are theirs. They're not ours, and then they get reaped from them. Unfortunately, the same.
Yeah, and she's just doing the emotional appeal. That's why this is not resonating with me. This is gonna sound so fucking like arrogant, but I want to talk with someone who's gonna engage me on a rational level on this topic, not listen to someone engage me on an emotional level. Because if someone offered me dog meat, if I tomorrow I go to South Korea and I go to a place and they offer me dog meat, I'll eat it. I'll eat it and be interested in tasting it and give it a chance. And then I'll go back and be super cuddly and nice to the dogs I see. And I love dogs too. And I will live with that contradiction. I don't have an issue with that. Oyoyo hates animals. We already know he's against universal healthcare for pets. True. Yes, I am. Unless they are pit bulls. Oh god, the pit bull discourse.
True for the up to 1 trillion animals we kill every single year. We are talking about a number of animals being decimated that we couldn't even physically conceptualize. Like, try and imagine 1 trillion of anything, and then just imagine that they are individuals. I don't know if Asmon's ever explored this concept before. I do know that he kind of like hangs around in the Destiny circle, so you might have seen recently that Destiny had a terrible debate with Vegan Gains, where he performed perhaps the worst he's performed in a long time. It was actually terrible. So hopefully, if he were one of the people who caught that stream, it might have struck.
I haven't watched the debate, but I've seen in his subreddit that people were saying, actually, even like Destiny fanboys were kind of saying it was a poor performance of him. So I'm willing to trust her on that. It's already dead. It's not like me not eating it is going to bring it back to life. That's actually an argument used when it comes in the Buddhist precepts. Very quickly, you have to take a precept for vegetarianism, that you're not going to eat meat. And at least in Zen Buddhism, in the school of Zen Buddhism I was brought up in, the teacher actually had a very pragmatic approach to it. So, for example, if you were somewhere and the custom's important, it's important for the custom to share the food, or you're hungry and meat is offered to you, that's exactly what he said. Refusing the meat is not going to save the animal. The animal already suffered. If anything, the least you can do is make it so it didn't suffer in vain. You should actually eat that meal. That's what a vegetarian religious practicing Buddhist had to say about the vow to not eat meat. So yeah, there's like a very real pragmatic argument that. Now, that being said, in a capitalist market society, buying meat incentivizes and creates more power and more capital for the meat industry. So you should never by yourself buy meat if you believe that it's a moral wrong. You should never engage in sponsoring the meat market. But if someone offers you meat, It's already there. They already fucking bought it. What are you gonna do?
Accord with him. But I'm so sure at this point, everyone in the kind of online circle, especially the circle that Asmund's part of, has explored this conversation, but maybe not to the degree that is needed. Because obviously if it's a social norm, then a lot of the time we aren't really expected to, and then we don't go to the lengths to explore it as much as we would need to in order to flesh out whether or not it's actually something that we need to change. However, I do think there is a need to change, because if this steak were a dog, I think you would probably have a huge problem with it, and you would see an imperative to sort that out.
I'm really not so sure. I once again, knowing Asmongold, I'm pretty sure he would. I don't know. Maybe he would be like really emotional about eating dog meat. Maybe, I could be wrong. But I feel like he would eat. Yeah, I'm like 95% sure he would absolutely eat it.
Because, you know, if you don't sort it out, the result are dogs being killed. And the problem is, if they're a cow, can you really give a justification for why that cow is so much less valuable that now they can have their entire existence taken from them because you wanted a specific dinner? I really don't think you'll find it, and I really hope that Asmund or some of his people see this, people who watch him. It's very unlikely, but, you know, we're not going to really get anywhere if I don't try at least. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you've ever watched Asmongold, if there's anything that he's ever kind of said pertaining to this topic, because I'm not so familiar with his work that I'm, you know, completely aware of everything he might have said. He might have said some incredibly contradictory things, or even at one point said that he's strongly considering veganism, but something is stopping him.
Obviously, you got to turn the bitch over.
Either way, like many other people, he is
That was a good clip.
engaging in rights violations to animals, and, you know, people don't see that because it's a social norm. And the more we talk about this and the more we kind of question the normality of this, then the quicker the inevitable will change. And I think it will change, because it's very uncommon for someone to come along genuinely and say that they just don't care about sentient lives whatsoever, and, you know, they're happy for it to be infinitely killed and exploited, you know, for the will of others. It's kind of a weird thing for people to say. So I just think it will absolutely change. It's just we need to speed up the process, because the consequence of not doing
Yeah, we should normalize it. Actually, that's my take. We should normalize people being free to say that they are actually okay with the exploitation of animals. No, but personally, I genuinely do believe I should at the very least like really put in an effort to reduce my meat consumption, because within my moral framework, I do have genuine concern for the ecology. The meat industry is one of the most polluting industries on this planet. Extremely on top of the pollution, it's also extremely consumptive of water, fresh water, which is not a finite resource, but a resource that is running out and becoming more and more precious. In general, it's just not a very efficient way of feeding people in many different aspects. And as we seem to be reaching basically the on some level the end of infinite growth, infinite resources, infinite consumption, it seems like there is a moral imperative to, at the very least, reduce meat consumption. And on that, I'm willing to join her. However, my only problem is that is an argument and the moral framework based, once again, on social utility, not based on absolute morality of all living beings. I think that's where she's coming from. She's like, all sentient beings are suffering and we need to save all sentient beings. I've given up on that ever since I've renounced Buddhism. I'm not responsible for all sentient beings. I'm responsible for myself. I'm responsible for the people I love around me. And if I can just handle that well, I'll already be proud of myself. I'll be proud of myself, and I'll be proud of the life I have lived. If I can even like look back and be like, okay, I did good by those standards, that's already pretty damn good. Okay, and I'll live by that.